The night of November 20th, 2018 started like any other quiet evening in Colts Neck, New Jersey, and ended with 4 bodies and a mansion swallowed by fire. But the most disturbing detail wasn't the flames. It was what investigators found sleeping soundly less than 100 feet away. Colts Neck is the kind of town where old money breathes through every acre. Horse farms roll across the landscape like something out of a painting. Stone gates mark long driveways. Neighbors don't bother each other. Privacy isn't just valued here, it's expected, which is exactly why nobody noticed anything strange until the sky turned orange. The Caneiro family lived in a sprawling, multi-million-dollar mansion on Willowbrook Road. Keith Caneiro, 50 years old, was by most appearances a successful businessman. His wife Jennifer, 45, was a devoted mother. Their children, Jesse, just 11 years old, and little Sophia, only 8, had their whole lives waiting ahead of them. They were, by every account, a close family. The kind of family that shows up to school events, that takes vacations together, that trusts the people around them completely. That trust is what makes this case so utterly devastating, because the person who allegedly walked into that house and ended all 4 of their lives wasn't a stranger hiding in the shadows. It was someone they loved, someone who knew every corner of that home, someone who had every reason, in his own twisted calculation, to want them gone. And here's the first thing you need to hold on to. Before that mansion burned, something else burned first, miles away. A different fire, a different location, the same night. That detail would crack this case wide open, but we'll get there. Investigators believe Keith Caneiro and his family were killed inside the home before the fire was ever set. The mansion wasn't just destroyed, it was staged. The flames were meant to erase, to consume, to swallow every trace of what happened inside those walls before the sun came up. But fire, no matter how hot, doesn't burn away motive. Paul Caneiro was Keith's older brother. The two of them ran a technology services company together called Square One. On the surface, they were partners. Business partners, family partners, built from the ground up partners. But underneath that surface, something had been rotting for months. Investigators found serious financial discrepancies in the company's accounts. Money was missing. And the finger pointed directly at Paul. In a town as quiet as Colts Neck, the kind of betrayal that happens in daylight, on spreadsheets, in bank transfers, in accounting records, can be just as vicious as anything that happens in the dark. Paul allegedly saw what was coming, a confrontation, an exposure, the potential collapse of everything he built. And according to prosecutors, he made a decision so cold it barely seems human. The prosecution laid out a timeline that November night that is nearly impossible to sit with. Paul Caneiro allegedly drove to his brother's mansion under the cover of darkness. He allegedly entered the home. He allegedly killed Keith, Jennifer, Jesse, and Sophia, 4 people who trusted him, who shared holidays with him, who shared blood with him. And then he allegedly set the house on fire to destroy the evidence and walk away clean. But he didn't walk far. When police arrived at the scene, Paul Caneiro was found at his own home, just across the lawn, sleeping, or at least pretending to. The audacity of that image is almost incomprehensible. 4 members of his own family dead, their home turning to ash, and he was right there. Now here's the second thing you need to hold on to. And this is where the case against Paul Caneiro goes from compelling to devastating. His own house had been set on fire earlier that same evening. He had called 911 himself, reported the fire, and told police he believed someone was targeting him. He tried to frame himself as a victim. It was an alibi wrapped inside an act of arson, but investigators didn't buy it for a second because the evidence was already speaking. On Paul's car, traces tied him to the scene at Willowbrook Road. His cell phone data put him in the area. The financial motive was documented, traceable, and damning. And the sequence of fires, his house first, Keith's mansion second, told a story he couldn't explain away. The whole thing unraveled slowly, the way a lie always does when the truth is buried underneath 4 bodies and a mountain of forensic evidence. The trial took years to arrive. Legal delays, pandemic interruptions, procedural challenges. The justice system moved at its own pace while the memory of Keith, Jennifer, Jesse, and Sophia waited. People who loved them waited. And the details that emerged through testimony were brutal. The children had been killed in their beds. They likely never knew what was happening. That detail alone sat like lead in the chest of everyone who heard it. Paul Caneiro maintained his innocence throughout. His defense team worked to cast doubt, to challenge the evidence, to offer alternative explanations. But on February 13th, 2026, the jury returned their verdict after careful, deliberate consideration. Guilty on all counts. 4 counts of murder, aggravated arson, every single charge the prosecution brought. The jury agreed. The courtroom was silent in the way only certain moments can make a room go silent. The kind of silence that carries weight. The kind that acknowledges something irreversible happened, and now, at least in part, something irreversible has been answered. Keith Caneiro built a life in that mansion. Jennifer Caneiro filled it with a family. Jesse and Sophia were just kids living inside the ordinary magic of childhood, completely unaware that the danger in their world wore a familiar face. That's the part that never leaves you when you study cases like this one. The most dangerous betrayals don't announce themselves. They come from inside the circle, from the person who already has access to everything. Your home, your trust, your life. The Caneiro family murder case isn't just a story about greed, though greed was the engine. It's a story about what happens when the people who are supposed to protect us become the threat. It's a story about a fire that was meant to erase a family, but instead illuminated the truth. And it's a story about 4 lives that deserve to continue. A mother, a father, a boy on the edge of becoming a young man, and a little girl who never got the chance. Justice came. But justice, in cases like this one, always arrives carrying something grief never puts down.
Almost gone.